Hiya guys, welcome to the channel. Nigel here from Nigel's Modelling Bench, and I've got a review for you today again, but it's a different kind of review this one. This is like a kind of Will Patterson review. If you see, Will Patterson does kit reviews, but what he does, he like builds half the kit first. Inbox reviews are great. They show you what's in the box, they show you the quality of the decals to look at. You can see the instructions, you can see the sprues, you can see what you're getting and your metal parts and photo etch and all that. But the trouble is, you could have the best looking kit with the most features and the most photo etch and the most metal parts and the biggest decal sheets, but if none of it fits and the decals don't go down and the instructions are all wrong and the plastic is a horrible material that doesn't work very well and is very brittle, inbox reviews don't really show you a lot at all. So what I thought I'd do with this one, this is a kit I bought at the Gloucester show last year. So that would have been May last year, so we're talking 15 months ago. I got it home, really enthusiastic, built the trailer, started building the truck and sort of got burnt out because these kits, they do burn you out. There's so much to them, you know, most of them are, you know, more than 1,000 parts. So with stuff like this, if you do feel yourself getting burnt out, put it down, pick up something else. One day you'll come back to it. And that's exactly what I've done. As you all know, I've got a bit of a rushing thing at the moment. I came back to this, I thought I'm going to finish this off. And my goal is to try and get some kits finished. The kits that I've got on the shelf back in the box. And one of them will be the Hellcat, don't worry. And also we need to get that Junkers 88 done, I promise I will. So without further ado, let me get this great big box off the table. Well, I haven't told you what it is. Russian Kraz 260B, so that's the tractor unit, with a 5P85TE TEL S-300PMU. Right, 5P85TE is the code name for this whole unit here, the whole trailer. The TEL is Transporter Erector Launcher, so you would have the transporter, it erects and it can launch, and then you would have things like the BUK, which I've also got coming, which is TEL R, which is transport erector, launcher and radar. And then the S-300, as most of you will know, S-300 is the missile system. There are many variants of the S-300. They put them on ships, they put them on the back of track vehicles, they put them on MAZ chassis, they put them on these trailers. They've got all sorts of different assemblies. And Trumpeter and Hobby Boss together, looks like they're going to model most of them. They are quite expensive, unfortunately, but as you'll see now, they are very impressive kits. And this one comes out 403mm long and 94.7mm wide. So you can see it's no small little thing. So without further ado, let me have a look at the instructions, and we'll go through the instructions and then I'll show you what I've done. Okay, so in this instruction manual, you can see it's A4 size, black and white, printed paper. There's actually 73 steps. That says 25, we'll get to that. And there's 44 pages. I forgot to tell you as well, the kit number is 85511. If you're into your Russian stuff, I would suggest buying this kit, because as you're going to see in this review, it's a bit of a gem. It's lovely. Right, so box art on the front there, some health and safety stuff and how to apply decals. Maybe I should read that because I don't seem to be able to apply them if you see my my previous builds. So no history about the vehicle, no information on here whatsoever, but just it's all about, you know, the model and the kit. And we've got all our legends here, so we need to make sure we know about all those before we get stuck in. Then we got our sprue maps, and as you can see, we've got a lot of sprues, and most of it is all in this tan coloured plastic. Here is the bonnet, for example, and it's that typical lovely Hobby Boss plastic, really nice to work with. Quite big sprue gates on some of it, but more of that later. And you can see here we've got vinyl tyres, we've got die cut masks for the windows, decal sheet, 2 lots of photo etch, and we've got some tubing as well. So we're straight into the assembly. Now, if you are a fan of Will Patterson or you follow his site, you'll see he did this, not this vest, the Tacom version of this model. Now, he had a lot of problems with it. I've got that kit as the complete transporter with the T55 on the back. I can see where he's coming from. There's a lot of very funny engineering in that kit, such as they build the cylinder heads in 2 halves and you end up with a great big seam down the middle. It just seems crazy, you know, it's crazy. This kit, I can tell you, goes together a lot better in my opinion, I haven't built the Tacom kit. I will build it and then I'll be able to tell you, but I think this is probably a better bet than the Tacom kit personally, from what I've seen on Will's reviews. So basically we're starting off by assembling the engine. We've got turbo going in there and everything. You will see of the built up engine, the detail is fascinating. It's really, really nice. And then we've got the radiator going on, and then we've got little separate hold down screws for the rocker covers, transmission going together, transfer box, and then it's telling us to remove some bits and pieces off the chassis. You can see this tractor unit's going to be pretty generic for a lot of other kits, and also I think it's available on its own, isn't it? So then we're into the chassis. We're building up our cross members here, which are all very nice. We've got our main chassis rails going together here. I can't remember, there are some ejector pin marks on the inside of the rails, but there's nothing too bothersome. And then the engine is being sandwiched in there, which is a bit of a shame. It's nice to be able to put the engine in afterwards so you can paint it separately, but on this one I'm going to be gluing the bonnet down anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Then we're putting the other half of the chassis together, building up the front bumper with some beautiful photo etch on here to represent the tread plates, and you'll see that in a minute. It really is nice. Fifth wheel there going together, that will move and pivots. Fitting the bumper on, fitting the fifth wheel, fitting up the mounting for the back of the cab. And then we've got the rear cross member going together here. Or sorry, that's the front lower cross member, not the rear. So that's going together there, and then we've got another cross member here. And you can see where I've crossed these parts out, it's because I've built it all. Exhaust system, very, very nice multi-part exhaust system. And then we've got our air cleaners here going on the top, which again, really, really nice. Photo etch around the front of them, not quite sure why, but we'll see in a minute. Then we've got axles going together, separate bolts, separate U-bolts for the axle onto the springs. Really nice touch that. A lot of times people mould them on, you get all sorts of sink marks in the springs, you know, right next to them. This really does look impressive, as we'll see. And then we've got our front hubs going together. They're going into the axle. Looks like a fairly weak connection, but it's not. It's very nice. I haven't actually made this model steer. I didn't want to. I just wanted to position the wheels, as you will see. Steering box going together there, and then we've got our chassis mounts going on here. Or body cab mount, should I say. More steering linkage parts, and then we've got the rear leaf springs going on. My recommendation is don't glue those. Okay, if you glue those, if you leave them pivoting, it means you can guarantee having the rear wheels sat on the ground. Again, I refer to Will, sorry, if you watch his build, he had a real nightmare getting the rear wheels to sit on the ground. That's because everything was glued up. If you leave everything pivoting, get the wheels on, or just have it sat on some metal bars like you know I do, then you can basically make sure everything is touching the ground and then glue it up and let it set. Rear axles going together here, and then we've got our prop shafts going on. Again, this is what I'm talking about. When it comes to fitting these arms like these here, they're the ones that control the actual swinging of the rear end. You know, leave all that loose, leave it off until you're ready to glue everything solid. Then we've got another axle going together there, another prop shaft, and then another swivel there. As I say, leave them off. Then we've got this beautiful photo etch frame which you fold up around the jerry cans. I've done that with solder on mine. I'll show you that in a second. It really is nice. And then we've got fuel tanks going together, battery box, photo etch steps here. That's all going on the chassis. Then we're going to build up our air tanks. As you can see, a really nice touch with this kit. The air tanks and the fuel tanks are actually made as slide molded parts, so there's no seams. You've got a mold seam to sand off, but there's no halves going together and glued seams and waiting for it to dry and everything. So really nice touch. Thank you, Abios, for that. And they've done the same, as I say, with these air tanks as well. Rear fenders going together. It all looks very flimsy, believe me, it's not. It really does look nice. Then we've got these rear tiny little photo etch rear light mounts. Putting all the wheels together with the tyres. It's a shame it's got vinyl tyres. You know, every one of these kits that ever comes out, we always say, modelers always say, why don't you just give us plastic wheels? You know, Bronco do. Bronco tend to not use vinyl tyres. I wish the other manufacturers would do the same, because you know, vinyl tyres, they never seem to fit very well. You've got that horrible seam around the middle generally. They've got no sag in them, but quite often these vehicles don't have any sag, to be honest. And with this one, certainly, we need something in the tyres, inside the tyres, to stuff them out, because they don't sit on the rims very well. As I say, I'll show you that in a sec. So that's that. And then we're going to start on the cab, the seat, putting the seats in, gear stick, steering wheel and the dashboard there, fitting the steering column to the dash, fitting the throttle pedal, pushing the dashboard in with a decal there for the instrument panels, fitting in the glazing. We could do that until we till the end, and as you can see we've got die cut masks. They go on the inside and the outside. And then die cut masks for there, I believe they go on the inside and the outside. Where are they? I believe we've got inside and outside masks. This is die cut 1 and 2. It looks like we don't actually. I thought we did. It looks like we don't. I thought we had masks inside and out. So basically you can fit these in once all your interior is painted and everything. Fit these in, mask them up, and then you're good to go. Bit dubious about the colour call out, so I'm not sure this would be black. I've looked online. Interiors tend to be sort of greeny colours, I think, but the seats are very interesting. Most of the seats I've seen have like a black outer section and a grey inner section, so check your references for that. And then we're putting the cab doors together. You can see we've got some lovely interior detail, moulded on handles and everything, so not as nice as the Vesda kit I showed you yesterday, but still. And then again, which is a really nice touch, we've got the lovely bulkhead detail here. If we go back to the Meng, what is it, the 999, what the number is it? The 911, sorry. I was thinking emergency services, 911 is American, isn't it? You know, you get the cab, you pay all that extra money for the resin engine and everything, and then you just get a basic flat plastic bulkhead. There's no detail on the bulkhead at all. So this one's gone that step further, and you do get a lot of detail. Then we've got fenders here. Now you can choose. Now if you look at the actual kit on the box, it's got these fenders here without the extended part. I think this is the later version where you've got these later fenders with the squared off bit on the top, and then these are just like a simple fender, so they've got a little side light in them as well. So I'm not really quite sure what the difference is. I'm assuming these are the later version. One's going to be the V, one's going to be the B, perhaps, I don't know. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments. So you can see we've got the choice of either fenders going on there. There's also, if you see this line here, that's a line moulded on if you're going to use the later fenders. If you aren't, you can sand that off because you don't need it. So we've got our bonnet here, or our hood, with the lettering across the front. Okay, I'm just slipping this segment in the video here. So this has been filmed after I did the video. I got the Tacom kit out, I looked at the bonnet again, sorry, on the Hobby Boss kit, and noticed that the Kraz logo is not actually moulded on the bonnet. That's for obviously copyright reasons, even though in the instructions it shows you, where is it? It shows you it as being there. You can see it there, it's got the Kraz logo, but it's actually not there. So got the Tacom kit out of its bag, and sure enough, the Tacom kit has got it on. So I've tried it up, it fits, it will fit absolutely perfectly. If you cut that section out of your Hobby Boss bonnet, this piece will go in. So guess what? I'm going to make a resin copy of that panel, of that part, and then we can have the logo to go in there. So if you have got one of these Hobby Boss kits and you would like this, drop me a line on nigelsmodelingbench@gmail.com, and I'll send you one out for a very small fee. And then we've got our grille there going on, and then adding all our handles and windscreen wipers and stuff. We've got a lovely little photo etch air intake there, and again handles and mirrors and stuff on the other side. Then moving on, we're fitting the cab onto the chassis, and then we're going to build up our spare wheel holder. That is a nightmare. My advice to you is go back to, if you're building this kit, any variant of it, once you have done step 8, okay, once you've put those chassis rails together, jump forward to here, assemble these two halves together, clamp them onto your chassis, okay, because they fit into these cutouts here. I don't know if you can see, there's 4 cutouts, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what this actually fits into. You can see these cutouts here. Clamp it to your chassis with some pegs, hold it in place nice and firm, then build all this up with the actual unit clamped to the chassis. If you do it the way they're suggesting here, it's a nightmare. It all goes all over the place. I actually did mine before I fitted the cab, but the rest of the chassis was built up, and it made it a nightmare because all of this around here, you've got these little footsteps and handles and knobs and bits and pieces, and it's all very delicate to the touch. You don't want to be just picking it up and breaking it, so be very, very careful with that. And build it up on the chassis, let it all go hard, then you can take it off, ready to be added to the chassis later at this stage. But seriously, my advice is clamp this to the chassis and build it up with all these parts they're showing here with it clamped in place. And also the spare wheel is a very tight fit when you try and push it down in there. We've got this toolbox going together here, that goes in there absolutely fine. And then we're going to fit that onto the back, and that is the truck finished. 48 steps, done. Now we're on to the launcher. So this is the trailer part of the truck unit, and this is the actual firing part. Now we've got these bits and pieces going together here, and you can see that I've made pen marks where I've used stuff up, so it's kind of covering the numbers a bit, which I guess for this review doesn't matter, but you can see all of this goes together. It does go together very well, but you do need some Mr. Surfacer. So if you are going to get this kit, my advice to you is, if you're going to work to the instructions, first thing you do, glue these bits together, okay, and let them go off, because you will need Mr. Surfacer on them to deal with the seams and everything. And there's a lot of sanding of seams and stuff to make it look really nice, like this area here. You know, you've got the mould line obviously around. Give that a good clean up, and it does look very, very beautiful. As I say here, don't cement that in, and also with these rails here, you fit these in, but don't actually, when it comes to it, don't glue the tubes onto them. Then we've got the main actual beam, the lifting beam, that's all going together here, lots of detail. I believe there were ejector pin marks in there that need to be dealt with, but we'll look at that in a minute. Got the rest of the assembly here for the launchers going together, and then we've got two of those. So again, put these together, you're going to need some Mr. Surfacer in the seams. And then we've got this photo etch slider parts going on here, which are very, very nice indeed. This really is a beautiful kit. I don't know if I've said that. Then we've got these hydraulic parts going together here. These are part of the launchers. You get spares of these. They are very flimsy, but they do go together beautifully. And these again are slide molded, so you haven't got seams to deal with. This very, very flimsy bit of photo etch on the back of here. I'll show you that in a second. And then there's our outer part of the cylinder for the elevating ram. Then we got this is all going together. This is the actual main body of the trailer. That's all going together there in a base. There's some ejector pin marks in there to deal with. Then we're going to build up this is our central footrest. This is this one here, which goes into the center. It's saying travel mode and combat mode. If you can't make your mind up, just don't glue it. Just don't glue anything together, and then it'll all move and you can decide at a later date. I've done all mine is all together, and I've kind of changed my mind, but we'll see about that. And then here we're saying no cement. Again, don't cement that in there, and then your wheels are free to pivot, so you're guaranteed to have all four on the ground as long as you get them square. If you have the axles glued together like that, obviously it won't go together. So what you need to do is get a couple of blocks, sit it on the blocks with these pins in place, sit these pins here on the outsides of the springs on some blocks with weight on top of them, and glue it together and let it set. So there we go. And then we're going to start on our rams and everything here. Then we're doing our rams again. We've got travel mode and combat mode, so we can have them folded up, or we can have them down. And what they're telling us to do here, it's pretty much all the same assembly. It's just that you're going to cut some meat off of that one to let it go up further. So that's what you got to do there. So basically, if you can't make your mind up, build it in combat mode, and if you change your mind later, just take it out, cut it off, and away you go. So that's that there. And then we're just adding some greeblies on here. I noticed there wasn't enough parts here. It's telling you to use M21, M21 times 8, M21 there, and then you've got M22 here. These are M22s, okay? So just basically have a look at what you've got. There aren't enough M21s in the kit to do what they're saying to do. So you've got your M22s there and your M21s. They're very different, very slightly different. So they're only knobs and things. It doesn't really matter. Again, you've got all these M21s down here, and there aren't enough in the kit. Some PE panels going in there, which add a nice bit of detail. And then we've got these little pins going on the end of there. Are they little lights? I can't remember now. They go on the end there, tiny little parts. And then we're going to start up on the frame. This is for the cables. These cables would have gone out to the actual control center, because this would have been a slave system. It wouldn't have been capable of firing itself. It had to be connected up to a radar system to work. Assembling all that, you've got these end of these cables going on here. You can draw these out, put some cables in if you wish. Then we've got these little tanks here, little diesel tanks. I'm assuming it would have had a little engine in it or something. I don't know. Maybe it. I don't know. Maybe someone can tell me. Then we've got this box here with our access panel on the end. I'm not quite sure what would have been in there, but I'm sure someone will tell me. And then we've got little ladders going together here that go on the top of the wheel arches. And then we've got all our bits and pieces. We've got fire extinguishers, this part here which holds down the launcher part. More of these little tiny bits and pieces, these little tiny hooks going on. I'll show you those now. Then we're going to fit our launcher. That's going on. You actually glue down the hinges, but you can actually pivot it up afterwards. Then we're going to assemble our tubes. Again, these firing tubes, as with all the Trumpeter and Hobby Boss kits, these are slide moulded in one piece. So you've only got a mould seam to deal with. Beware, I think there is a seam that's supposed to be there. We'll look at that in a sec. And then we've got these covers here. Now these covers, they're fitted on the ends of the tubes. They're painted red, and they're only for transport mode. So if you're having it erect in the firing mode, they wouldn't be on there. They took those off and hung them over the wheels. Quite why they did that, I don't know. We've got to add some wire here, but they hang over the wheels. If you look at the picture on the box front, you will see them on here. You can see them there. Just check you're not getting light in the camera. There we go. You can see them hanging on there on some wires. Quite why they did that, I don't know. I don't know if it was just somewhere to store them, or why they wanted to keep the blast away from the wheel centers. I don't know. And there we go. And that basically is that, and it's telling us to put that on then onto the back of the tractor unit. So that's our instruction unit. As I say, if anybody has any really good information on this or reference material they can link me to, I'd be really interested, because I am interested in this subject. Can't really find much about it other than your sort of, you know, your generic documentaries on YouTube about how the whole system works and how many Albania have bought and how many Pakistan have gotten, stuff like that. So yeah, really nice kit, really worth the money. We've got our colour call-outs here. So we've got this one here. It doesn't tell us, unfortunately, what they are, like what region they're from or even what country they're from. So you've got this one here, which is the green, tan and black camouflage. And there's all our colour call-outs there in Mr. Hobby, Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya and Humbrol, which is nice to see. We've got all our decal placements showing there. Then we've got another 3 versions on the back, another 4 versions, sorry. And this is the one, this is going to be the grey and the green and brown camouflage there. And then we've got decals that do these camouflage areas around the front of the tubes. I'm just going to check, you know, in the light. So we've got, yeah, we've got the areas there that they're actually done of decals. And then we've got these black tubes here. This is going to be a parade day vehicle because we've got the white on the wheels and we've got the flashes there on the stars. This is going to be a Russian unit with the, again, with the, it looks like silver, but I think in reality it's actually like a very pale blue. They're telling you to paint it G. Yeah, it's like a very pale blue-grey. It's almost like the colour you see on Su-27s, that very, very pale blue. Check your references, look online, you'll see lots of different colours on there, and they always, because they obviously get reused, they do look pretty battered. A question I would like to ask, if anybody knows, something I don't know, when these things are reloaded in the field, do the transport vehicles that take these to the launcher, do they actually fit the whole launcher tube with the missile inside it, or do they just put a new missile inside the tube? I'm sure someone can tell me. And then again here we've got this green one, and again we've got a green one down the bottom. This is going to be another parade day, you can see with the flashes and the stripes and everything. So if you want to build a nice glossy shiny model, that's your one to go for. If you want to build something a bit worn and beaten, I would probably go for that one or that one. The beauty is, what's really interesting with having these grey tubes, again, as I say, watch YouTube, you'll see in the videos, they're never all the same colour. So you'll get one which is like a very sort of off-white tan colour, and then you get another one which is quite blue, and another one which looks almost dark grey. It really is impressive, and of course then you get those camouflage decals on there as well. So, you know, that would be a great one to do, heavily weathered and looking pretty used. That one would be a great one for a lot of visual interest. So that's our colour call-outs. Decals, we've got a nice decal sheet here. I haven't used any yet, but I've cut it open so you can see it. And here we go. It's got this kind of matty film over the top of it. I'm going to stand up and make sure you see this properly. We've got our stripes here for our parade day, and we've got all our warning signs and everything, and all the literature there that goes on the missile tubes. These are the big decals that go around the front of the launch tubes on that one version I showed you. And then you've got all your unit markings here, so you can pretty much choose any unit you want. Great for the spares decal box, those things. We've got our instrument panel there, which all looks very nice. As you can see, it's got this kind of funny film on the top of it. It's a bit weird. I'm hoping these will go down nicer than my decals of late. The tape there, I thought it was a staple stuck in it. We got some markings here, got a number plate there, some more hazard markings. So yeah, on the whole, very nice sheet of decals there. Let's get them back in their bag before they get anything spilt on them, because I'm a clumsy oaf. And we've got our masks here, got our window masks, and as we can see, they're just very, very basic. As I said, I don't think we've got masks for the inside. I think it's only external. We'll just check. Yeah, it's basically like it feels like a normal masking tape rather than kabuki tape, which is a bit bit of a concern, but never mind. Still, they're there, and they aren't cut out very well. They seem very, very sticky, so be a bit careful. So yeah, it looks like we've got. I can't even see where they're cut out, but basically they are masks, and they look very, very sticky, so probably de-tack them on the back of your hand a couple of times before you put them on. Otherwise, when you peel them off, you like to pull the glazing out with them. Now we've got a sprue here. This is about the only sprue I can show you. This is the clear parts, and you'll see that I've painted some of the back of the lights silver and ready for their clear colour on the front. And as you can see, clear parts look very, very nice indeed. There's a tiny little bit of scratching on them, but you know, other than that, lovely. And let's just do our distortion test, and we can see there, not too bad at all. Really, really nice. So I'll get them back in their bag so they don't get scratched. I'll probably dip those in future before I fit them. We also get a bag of vinyl tubing. Obviously I haven't used any of this yet, but I'll probably use something else instead of that. So onto the kit. I'll start by showing you the truck. So this is the truck chassis as built, and you can see it's quite a monster. Let me get the lighting a bit better here. Here we go. You can see it's quite a monster. It's, what is it? It's 24 centimeters long. That's just the truck chassis. And to give you an idea, if I put it next to my usual size checker, here is my dusty Cooper wagon. Blimey, that is very dusty. There's a Cooper wagon next to it, so you can see the size of this thing. It's massive. I remember seeing one of these at War and Peace show a few years ago. When you compare, look at the size of that seat, and you can imagine a man. I couldn't believe it. You can basically stand next to that and lean on that bumper like you lean on the roof of a car. They're massive. So yeah, really good to see. So you can see it builds up absolutely beautifully. We've got some lovely, lovely detail. The wheels will fall off as soon as I tip it over, so I can show you now. The wheels are lovely. All of the wheels on the truck and the trailer, they've got this they've got a lovely valve in there on the outer rim, so that's really nice to see. Unfortunately, there's a great big seam line which you can see I've put Mr. Surfacer in to try and get rid of, so I'll rub around with a sanding stick and get that out later. And as I say, these vinyl tyres, they don't particularly fit the rims very well. They need something in them to stuff them out and keep them pulled against the rim, because they keep, as you can see here, as you can see there, they keep wanting to pop back away from the rim. So you sort of pull them back out onto the rim like so, and then the back's coming away then. And yeah, so resin wheels, or stuff something inside these tyres to fatten them out. I'll get some foam or something in there. It's the same with all the trumpeter stuff. They're all the same. It's unfortunately they use these horrible bloody vinyl tyres. Let me show you around here the detail on this. As I said, this front bumper is stunning. It is. Whoops, the wheels just want to fall off, except for the front ones. They fit quite tightly. Let's get them all off. There we go. So there we go. The engine, as you can see, is very highly detailed. It's really, really nice. Exhaust system there, turbo on the back, air cleaners. Again, we've got this photo etch parts on the front. I'm not sure why, but they have. And you can see there's the spare wheel carrier there. As I say, get that on the chassis as soon as you can and build it up on the chassis. It's a bit of a nightmare to build. The fifth wheel there, which moves. These rear mud guards, as I say, they look very flimsy, but they're not. You can actually pick it up with them. They're really, really strong. Tiny little photo etch rear light mounts, which are lovely. Okay. And then going on the front, you can see, what was that? That was another wheel came off. And then we've got the bumper here. You can see I've painted the light silver in there ready for their lenses to go on. We've got this beautiful photo etched tread on the front, which is going to look really, really nice. Probably paint that silver first and then hairspray it and rub it back afterwards, get it chipped up a bit. And you can see the photo etch on the sides gives you the proper scale effect on the end there. So it's really nice, really, really lovely. Got the lovely tread plate on the side here and the photo etch step. Same on this side, photo etch step. These lovely air tanks that I talked about with no seam. You've got the fuel tanks again, as I say, they're slide molded. So all you've got is a seam there. You can see where I've rubbed it away, and that's all you've got to do. Really, really nice. Exhaust, I've hollowed the end out and I've put some Mr. Surface on it to give it a rough look, so that'll be rusty. And then when we go underneath, you can see the detail is quite stunning. The detail in these hubs and brakes and steering and everything. It's really, really nice. Beautifully done. Really pleased with it. And as I say, when you do build up these this rear end, don't glue the axles here onto these pivots, the springs should I say. Let them pivot like so, and then what you do is set it on a flat surface with the wheels on or whatever, or on some bars, and then fit these arms then, and then glue all together when it's all sat there. Okay, and that way you're guaranteed to get all your wheels sat on the ground. And then moving around to the rear again, you can see those lovely little photo etched light mounts, and you can see all the detail there in the axles and everything. So yeah, once all painted, it will look stunning. And I'm going to pick this wheel up before the dog gets it. Right, so that's that one done there. Then you've got the actual trailer itself. As you can see, I've got it here sat on its rams. And like I said, with this one here, just don't glue this pivot in, and then you can change your mind and have it in the transport position if you so wish. All the detail around the front here, which is really, really nice. We've got these little cable ends here, so probably the thing to do is come along with some cable, fit it onto there and have it droop round. I've been looking at some reference photos. It's very difficult to find what I'm looking for, but it looks like these cables come out and just go tuck underneath and go back down through here. You've got the antenna here on the front, which is glued in the down position. We've got these two tanks here. I'm assuming there's some sort of generator or something in there. Then we've got all this lovely detail on this side with this flap here, photo etch bracket on the top. Got these wheels here for the cables to go onto. Lovely little moulded handles, as you can see there. And if you remember, I mentioned those parts, M21 was it, all down the sides here. We've got all those knobs that hold all these doors shut. So yeah, check out before you start gluing them on, check what you've actually got. And you need to get a good film on or something when you get these off the sprues and start cleaning them up. You've also got here, if I can show you on the side, you've got these lovely little photo etched tie downs. Okay, and they're all pretty tedious as well. So building up all this on the side of these trailers, it's tedium personified, but you know, it's it really adds to the effect in the end, especially when it's painted and you weather them and chip them and stuff. And as you can see, I've left that pivoting so that I can guarantee that however the trailer is, whatever angle it sits on, the wheels will always be touching the ground. And there's the hydraulics around there for the actual launcher. Moving on to the actual tubes themselves, here they are. This is them fitted, and we've got this fitting here, and what this will do, let me get this around here, this will fit into here on the rear of the trailer, and then it will fold forward and sit like so, and then it will come back and it will swivel down. And what actually happens in real life, these come back to a stop, okay, if you notice they're not glued. So if I hold this like this, if you can imagine this is the ground, they'll come back so they're vertical, so the sky is that way, imagine it's vertical. What is it comes back to a stop, and then the tubes drop and sit on the ground. They sit on these end plates here. So don't forget when you're building this to weather these up where they've been touching the ground. So they slide back, and that's it. Now you can see that I haven't glued these on, you don't need to. You can take them off, and then you've got all that lovely detail inside there, all ready to paint and everything. And as I was saying earlier, if you remember I told you about gluing all this together, you've got these mould seams all around here that all need work. So get it all together, first of all, let it all go off, and then you can get some Mr. Servicer, and you can be going on building your truck engine or whatever while that's all drying off. You can see, I mean, all four of them come off quite easily, just like that. And then you've got your all your lovely detail there on the launcher, and you've got these here. These are the parts that they slide into. These tubes just slide in on these tiny little arms. So yeah, all very, very nice. And obviously they've got arms on one side, they've got arms on both sides. I've just noticed these tubes. So they've got little arms there, and they've got little arms there. So I'll have to check again the instructions which way they go in. But as I say, you've got this mould seam here to clean up, and that's it. I was wrong, I must be thinking about a different model. There is a seam on a model that's, people sand the seam off and it's actually supposed to be there. And as I say, we've got these caps here that go on the ends. These are the caps with the photo etched little handles, and they go on the ends if you want to have it in its transport mode. Otherwise you hang them over the wheels, as I said. So there we go, that's the four of those. So that's the trailer and the launcher taken care of. And the one thing about this kit, everything on it is flimsy. You've got these tiny little hooks on here, these tiny little handles, which I just broke them on off, I think. So there we go, that's how flimsy it is. But everything wants to just snap off all the time, so you've got to be a little bit careful with it. So going on to the rest of the assemblies, this is the cab with the bulkhead, and you can see that lovely little photo etch grill on there. That's really, really nice. And then you've got the cab floor here. Now if you're going to have your doors open, you need to do some work in here. There's some massive mismatch in the mould tool in these step areas there. So you need to do some work in there. I haven't decided whether I have the door open or not, so I've just put some Mr. Servicer in anyway. We've got the seat assembly, which is very nice. That's the driver's seat. Passenger seat is very, very simple. The dashboard is very nice. Very nicely moulded, ready for the decal to go on. There's no actual moulded on detail in the gauges or anything, but it's a two-part. I've just gone over the top with some Mr. Servicer because when you look through the windscreen, that is quite obvious. As you can see here, when you look through, you can see that is quite obvious sitting there. So I wanted to make sure I get a nice finish on that. I'll probably put a couple of cigarette packets or something in there. And as I say, we've got this lovely detail on the bulkhead with that filter there and the blowers there for the heaters and stuff. Sink marks on the side here, which I've put Mr. Servicer in, only because I had it there, you know, that's why. Doors, lovely interior detail on the doors. As I say, handles are moulded on, but quite adequate. Really, really nice. There's the doors there. Front grille, quite a simple affair. No ejector pin. Well, there's some ejector pin marks in there, but you're not going to see them once it's gone over the radiator. You've got the roof panel there with some ejector pin marks inside, but I'm not going to worry about those. Then we've got these are our fenders, or front wings as you'd say in England. So this is the later type, I believe it's the later type, and you've got this kind of squared off front. And then this is the early type, get the same side, this is the early type, where you've got just the plain fender. And if you remember, I said in my review yesterday, but that's Vesda K5350. When you look at the outside, the moulding, you look at the inside, it's the same. And as you can see here, this is typical of most kits. You just get a flat inside and the detail outside. But these would have been pressed steel, so the detail on the inside would have been the same as the outside in reverse. And Vesda have done that for us. So yeah, nice one there. So there's your different types of fenders. As you can see, a bit of Mr. Surfacer now. I'll go around with a cotton bud, some alcohol, get that out, and I'll leave a nice seamless joint. There's the bonnet, you can see there, and we've got the, there's no logo on the front of the bonnet. I can't remember if there's a separate part to go on there or not. And then we've got the steering wheel and column. And as you can see, I've got the steering wheel turned off to the left because my wheels are steered to the left. Something if you don't want to get picked up on at a show or something. And that is basically that. Yeah, that's everything. You've seen everything now. So there we go. That is the review of the Hobby Boss 85511 Russian Kraz 260B tractor with 5P85TE TEL S-300PMU. There's a mouthful, eh? So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. As I say, not really much to say about the kit other than a few tips about building up that spare wheel carrier, building up parts of the launcher before you start so you can get your Mr. Surfacer in there and get all the seams dealt with. Other than that, just take your time, build it. I mean, I think a beginner could build this absolutely fine. Well, probably not a first kit, but you know, if you've got a couple under your belt, you build this no problem. Sprue connector points on some parts are quite heavy, but you know, cut them off, sand them off, job done. There is a bit of photo etch in it, but not too much. It's not photo etch crazy. And as I say, if you really want to perfect it, get some resin wheels or just get some stuffing in these tyres to fill them out. The tyres don't actually have any lettering on them, so you know, your resin option could be the road to go down, depending on how much you want to spend, because there are a lot of wheels on here. With the spare, you've got 7 there, you've got 4 on the trailer, so that's 11 wheels you're going to need to buy. Not going to be cheap. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Would you rather see reviews like this once it's built before it's painted, or would you rather just see the sprue review? Maybe you'd like to see both. I know most of you would like to see a full inbox review and then a full video build. That's what you want to see, isn't it? I know. So thanks for watching. See you all soon. Bye bye.